Hey folks, wanted to give you an update on the 944. Been a fun car. I do have probably a couple hundred miles of driving on it. This has been an interesting adventure. I'm learning a lot. I've never owned a Porsche before, and so I'm learning, and I really am enjoying it. And I feel like overall the quality on this vehicle is miles above any other 80s vehicle that I've ever had. Right now we are working on the brakes. So let me go ahead and show you what we wound up having to do. Notice right away that the master cylinder is off, and you'll also see that there's all this paint that's peeled away. I haven't cleaned this up yet, but what was happening is the back of the master cylinder was leaking pretty bad, and here is the master cylinder, and you can see this gasket was pretty flat, and there was a lot of corrosion around it, and it was leaking pretty good. I'd find a little puddle of brake fluid wherever I went. So I've got a brand new master cylinder. Now what I found out, there's a couple ways that you can go with a new master cylinder. What I wasn't able to find was a rebuild kit for the original one. Now I was able to find brand new original Porsche OEM master cylinders for this vehicle, and they were $1,000. And I really felt like that was a bit pricey for a brake master cylinder. There's one moving part in it. It's a piece of aluminum that's got a few holes drilled in it, and one moving part that moves in and out. So I did wind up going with an aftermarket solution. This one is a Italian cast iron casting. It could be steel casting, but it is not aluminum, and therefore it does weigh about a pound more than this one. And it's significant when you put them in your hands, but let's be honest, this vehicle is not going to be on a racetrack, and an extra pound is really not a big deal to me. Not for the difference of $50 versus $1,000. So since I'm going to be replacing brakes, I went ahead and figured that the 40-year-old brake hoses, these are the flexible brake lines, it's time to replace them. So we do have brand new set of stainless steel braided brake lines. This is going to be for front and rear. Really cool. The guy who used to own this vehicle sent me a package with a really nice note and a whole bunch of the parts that he had laying around. And this was something that I had not expected or asked for or anything. It was just really nice of Tim, who was the previous owner of this vehicle, to send me a whole bunch of parts that he had been accumulating. Interesting story. When I got this vehicle, the guy I bought it from had bought it on eBay as a possible runner, and I haven't seen the ad, so I'm not really giving any speak to that. But when it was being driven off of the transport truck after the eBay auction was won, and the car had been delivered, the tow truck driver noticed that it was overheating. And I think that may have been a problem with the vehicle, and that was a known issue. And when I got the car, it was explained that it was a non-runner, that they had started it up a few times, but they would shut it off very quickly. And when I bought it, I fully expected to have to disassemble the engine and possibly replace the head gasket, and just really didn't know what I was going to be getting into. What I did find was that the oil cooler gaskets in the oil cooler, which is way down in there. It's kind of a pain to get to. The gaskets were leaking, and it was mixing oil and coolant together, and we had a chocolate milkshake on the inside of the engine. We also had chocolate milkshake in the radiator and the cooling system. So far I have repaired the oil cooler gasket, and I have flushed the engine out, and I've also flushed, repeatedly been flushing the cooling system, and bought a few new hoses, and I do have a new timing belt that I'm going to be installing on this eventually. And then I started driving it, and then I noticed that the brakes were not working very well. I tried bleeding them first, and then I noticed that it was dripping and leaving a puddle on the ground. Now, when you get in the car, it's a really nice interior. And the beauty of old Porsches is that most of the time people have kept them up, and they are not just derelicts in people's yards. What I did notice, though, is that the odometer was not working. I pulled it out and didn't replace anything, but I had noticed that somebody had glued the odometer gear in place, but it wasn't glued even far enough, or maybe it had moved under its own tension or load. And so I fixed it. I got a couple 100 miles on the car, and then I noticed the odometer was not working again. Really, I haven't done much on the inside. I did replace headliner up there, and I am working on the sunroof and trying to get some manual sunroof brackets, because the whole sunroof cable system had blown up. Really, other than that, some cleanup, sunroof, brakes, a little bit of engine work, cooling system work, and this is going to be a great driver. Probably one of the disappointments that I had with this was that the tires had gotten flat spotted. They're starting to work the way out, and keeping it up off of the ground is actually helping a lot. And in that couple 100 miles that I've driven it, I tried to drive it as hard as I could and get the tires hot, so that they would expand and lose some of their memory. And it looks like it's working. They're not nearly as flat spotted as they were, but I'm going to show you something right here. I can show you how you can even just see a flat spot. Take it up. And that's not too bad, but you'll see that the tire will do just that, a little bit, and it's gotten a lot better. Underneath the car, we have the air conditioning system, which I've been working on. I was able to recharge using R12A, since this is an old R12 system. And golly, other than that, I haven't even had to replace anything in the air conditioning system. I did put some sealant in the air conditioning system after I pulled a vacuum. And yeah, so otherwise, great car. I've had a lot of fun driving this, and I just wanted to give you all an update.